Yes, people, what's happening? Back again for another stream. So, guys, Alejandro Garnacho finally looks to be on his way out of Manchester United. And I must say, guys, I to be honest, I didn't think this day was gonna come. And I have to say, this is good news because again, this is a player that does define that does divide the fan base. And for me, is a player that is highly overrated, and is a player that for me has to be moved on to get better quality in that area of the pitch. And again, obviously there was reports of David Ornstein yesterday saying that you know United are looking at offloading Garnacho in the summer. And I'll be honest with you guys, that's music to my ears because, as I said, this player is a player that divides the fan base. There is actually fans that actually think this guy is going to be a top player. And just by watching this player week in week out, yeah, you can just see that this guy is not going to be no top player for me. He doesn't have the fundamentals to be a top player. If you look at all the top players in the world from years gone by, or even if you're looking at players that are the real technicians in the game, they've all got a base in terms of, being a good footballer first and foremost, and with someone like Garnacho, his attributes are, you would say, off the ball. And even those attributes ain't really that frightening. He's got decent pace. But again, is he explosive? No. Is he good on the ball? No, he's not. Yeah, he's just a player that he's massively frustrating, because he has no end product, and I think the main thing for him is that he's very selfish and believes in his own hype, So you can look at the likes of, obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo being his idol, and you can see that he's trying to replicate Ronaldo, but the one thing that Ronaldo had that Garnacho doesn't is talent. Because Garnacho hasn't got any sort of talent that you would say, yep, this guy has got it, nowhere near it. And for me, as I said, the fact that there's talk about him being moved on, I, for one, I'm very happy with that because, as I said, this is a player that does divide the fan base. And for me, the fact that that United, there's been talk about him being moved on, and again, there's talk about him being moved on to make way for the likes of Cunha, and this is showing me that the club is going in the right direction. Big up Sham 100, big up, man. As I said, guys, make sure you get involved in the chat. I'm talking about Garnacho potentially moving on from Man United. So yeah, if you want to put your comments in there, you might think I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. But if you disagree or if you agree, as I said, make sure you put your comments in the chat. So I think, having looked at Garnacho's stats, I don't know if it was this season or last season, and I think last season he might have played 51 games with a return of, I think it might have been 10 league goals and 9 assists. So 19 in total, for 51 games, which again isn't great, but a lot of people might look at that and think, well, he's still got 19 GA, but again, this is all the talk that people like, is the GA talk. But for me, this season, I'm not even actually sure what his stats are. But again, I'm not really a stats person. I'm someone that looks at more of the ability of the player. So for me, the ability of the player is very low, and I think Man United fans have been starved for too long. So it's for me, yeah, big up Gamer. So yeah, I think Man United fans have been starved for too long, and I think because this guy's come through the youth, I think it's more of a case that the fans are just trying to latch onto a player who they probably know deep down isn't good enough, but for some reason they're just trying to run with this player. And the fact that there's talk about him going, and again, Ineos, we're gonna see what Ineos are on, because if Ineos get rid of both him and Rasmus Højlund, then again, it's gonna be exciting, man. Because as I said, this has been a long time coming, where you've got two players that were being pushed by this fan base, and now it looks like both of them could be out come the summer. And again, that's great news, And the players that United have been linked with, the likes of Matthias Cunha, the likes of Ryan Cherky, in the attacking areas, Liam Delap. It's music to my ears because to think that Man United had a strike force, of Martial, Rashford, Sancho, Pogba, Ronaldo, Cavani, Greenwood, and now the strike force consists of Rasmus Højlund and Alejandro Garnacho. Again, is there any surprise why this team are languishing where they are in the bottom half of the table? There's no surprise, And yeah, it's madness. Big up Xfinity Gamer. Yeah, big up, man. Big up. So let's go through some of the chats. So Sham says he has potential, but I kind of see him like a bad apple in your team. So Sham, what I would say, because I keep hearing this, he has potential. Yeah. What I would say, what potential has Garnacho got? Because again, if you look at Garnacho's all-round game, what is the one thing that stands out from him that you can see he has potential in? Because I don't think he has not one standout attribute, And again, if we're saying a player has potential, they have to have a base level in terms of, are they good technically? Are they physically strong? Do they have, explosive pace? Has he got a great touch? You know what I mean? Has he got a great pass, a great shot? Is he a great dribbler? All these things. And there's not one attribute that Garnacho has. The only thing Garnacho brings to a team is that he's a willing runner. But you can go and get willing runners in League Two. Like, this is the problem. He doesn't have any X factor about his game. He's just someone that is just a willing runner. And because this Man United team are starved of actual talent, you look at talented players in Man United's squad. I can name you 3 real talents in that squad, and that is Kobe Mainu, Joshua Zirkzee, and Amad Diallo. The rest of the players there are just, in an attacking sense, are just bang average players. And this is the problem, So when you're saying he has potential, I do hear this talk a lot, but the potential to go and do what? Because he's not even showing nothing at Man United. I think what it is with a lot of these fans, because Garnacho is 21? Is he 21 or 20? I think he might be 20 or 21. They're just using this potential talk as a way of giving him another chance. But the reality is, and again, there's no comparison, but Lamine Yamal is 17 years of age. And look at the level of Lamine Yamal right now at 17. Look at the level of a Desiree Doué, who's I think he's 18 or 19. This is what I'm trying to say to you. And these guys will get better because they're showing a base level. Garnacho hasn't got any base level, so it's difficult to say if he has the potential, And do I see Garnacho go into another top team? I don't, And even if he was to, because of his profile at the moment, because whether people like it or not, for some reason this guy is rated. I don't know by who, but he's rated. So even if he was to go to a team that you'd think he isn't good enough to be at, he will slowly lose his place because he ain't good enough. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the fundamentals to be a top player. So when you're saying potential, I don't see it. And as far as being a bad apple in the team, 100%. He's got a bad attitude. His attitude stinks, to be honest with you, because he believes his own hype. And as I said, it's music to my ear that he's being talked about being moved on. But big up. So Infinity Gamer says, I've been looking for a gym for the last 2 weeks and I came across a warehouse. The paper just gone through. Yeah, big up, man. Big up yourself, man. Get yourself focused in the gym, and keep your mind occupied, man. That's what I would say. But big up yourself. So yeah, as I said, how much do I think Garnacho is going to go for in the summer? Well, there was talk about United wanting 55 million. I think if United get 40 million for this player, 30 to 40 million, they should just take that and just run as far away as they can. Because for me, he isn't a good player, not one bit. You know, if I'm comparing Garnacho and someone like an Anthony Elanga, you know, Anthony Elanga was and rightly so was considered not good enough to be a Man United player. But to think that Man United have the likes of Rasmus Højlund and Garnacho and Elanga had to move on, again, it just shows you that the level at this club is at an all-time low. And hopefully it's coming back. Because let's face it, as poor as Anthony Elanga was at United and wasn't a Man United player, what did Elanga have? He had explosive pace. So that was kind of like his game changer, you know. Garnacho hasn't even got that. You know, I think Garnacho is very, very quick over the first few yards, but then the longer the race goes on, he gets caught. And again, he hasn't got the strength either to hold a man off. So for me, yeah, he's more or less useless, and he's only being played as much as he has because there ain't no one else. But again, I blame the manager for this, because as much as Marcus Rashford needed to move on, you don't move on Rashford and keep Garnacho and don't have no one else coming in. Like that's just suicide. You know what I mean? And the manager again has to take much criticism, because I don't know what he saw in Garnacho to think that it was worth parting ways with Rashford to keep a Garnacho. You know, and again, this is another ludicrous decision by this manager. You know, I'm not too dissatisfied him getting rid of Rashford, because anyone that's watched my channel for any period of time or that knows me knows that Marcus Rashford should have been gone a few years back. But to think that Rashford was moved on because the manager said he didn't try in training, or, you know, didn't think he was good enough, but yet you keep Garnacho, again, is a disrespect, and this the manager's miles off by doing that, you know. So yeah, the fact that Garnacho's had this sort of season, you know, I think this is a guy as well. I think he went 17 games without a goal or something like that, something mad like that, you know. And this is the thing, like, if this was a Sancho, if this was a Martial, even Rashford, you know, if this was any black player producing those numbers, just like Rasmus Højlund, Xerxes, not scoring in 20 odd games, then they'll be hounded out by this fan base. But yet, the likes of Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund, this talk just gets swept under the carpet, which is mad. But as I said, yeah, these are the real unpopular opinions that people don't want to hear. But it's the truth at the end of the day, because how these two guys have survived this long doesn't make any sense. Big up to Mazira U. So Mazira U says, did you see the Milan derby yesterday? I didn't, but I heard, I think AC Milan beat AC Milan 3-0, I believe. I think it might have been 3-0, yeah. I can't remember who scored the goals, actually, but I think it was 3-0. But Milan, actually today, I see Milan are languishing in 9th place in the Serie A, which is mad. And Sergio Conceição, do I see him keeping his job? You know, I think someone else asked, I think Mazira you, it might have been you who asked me this actually, but do I see Conceição keeping his job? I mean, I didn't realise they were actually 9th. And to be honest with you, again, standards need to be put in order. And if I'm honest with you, you know, if you're ninth place as an AC Milan team, you know, you shouldn't really be keeping your job. But then again, I think Milan needs some sort of stability. So, yeah, he might be there for a bit longer. But yeah, they beat Inter Milan in the Coppa Italia. So, because again, Inter Milan had a chance to go and do the treble, just like Barcelona. But obviously, they've only got the league, and they've got the Champions League. So yeah, it's mad. So Sham says, maybe I'm going by what was said about him a couple of years ago. I've not watched him as much as you know. With me being a Liverpool fan, you know better. Yeah, big up Sham. Sham, what I would say, the problem in football today is that a lot of people get their opinions from others, you know, and, you know, it's important that when you're watching football, you know, you either put it on mute, because these commentators, again, are a massive problem. And so you either put it on mute and watch the game properly and have and know what you're looking for, or you can not listen to a lot of these pundits and a lot of fans that just have biases towards players, you know. And if you do that, then you'll just know who's a good player and who's not. And the problem with Garnacho is that Man United were in a period at a time where they were starving, basically. You know, there was nothing happening. And then Ten Hag, gave Garnacho a chance to play. Obviously, him coming through the youth, the fan base is going to get excited. And I believe the game where I can't remember what game it was. I'm not sure if he played a few games before that, but it was a game where he scored when he come off the bench against Fulham. And obviously he was a bit lively. The players didn't really know too much about him, and he come on and got a goal and got the winner. And then from then, the fan base have just been stuck to his nuts, really. They've just been going crazy over Garnacho. But again, if you just watch the game and watch his attributes, you would see that he didn't really have any kind of quality. He was just, in a sense, a breath of fresh air that these fans could get behind because he come through the youth. Because best believe, if he would have come from somewhere like Africa, or if he come from, somewhere in Eastern Europe, and was producing what he was producing, and didn't come from the youth team, there'll be no hype about him. It's the fact that he come through the youth team, and this fan base are just desperate to give youth players a chance, regardless if they're good or not. And I've said this plenty of times before. To think that Man United have had youth players in Ravel Morrison, Paul Pogba, Mason Greenwood, Angel Gomez, even a Chris Eagles, Giuseppe Rossi. If anyone knows Giuseppe Rossi, obviously he was bought from Parma. They've had some really serious players in that youth team or in the reserve team come into the first team, and whether it's not worked out, whether injury, or just not being, or a club not being in a good space at the time, or competition, these have been some serious players. To think that Man United are hanging their hat on Alejandro Garnacho, who is nowhere near any of them players, again, just shows you the level has dropped massively for Man United. And the fact that we're hearing news now that he could be gone in the summer, as I said, I didn't think this day will come, but it's showing me now that Ineos, that they're not messing around, and this is what I want to see, And again, yeah, I think it's important that you have your own mind on players and not listen to a lot of these pundits and a lot of these commentators, because they're doing a disservice, as I keep saying, to actual people that want to watch the game and judge it on their own basis, But big up yourself, man. Anyway, so Mazira U says, do you think Goretzka is a good player? I think he's average, to be honest with you. I think in terms of if Bayern Munich wanna be serious contenders for the Champions League again, then I think they do need an upgrade on Goretzka. Obviously Kimmich is in there as well, and obviously Kimmich can play right back, but I think that midfield does need revamping. I know they bought João Palhinha, but I'm not sure if he's been injured or if he's not playing that much. Obviously, they've got Alexander Pavlovich as well, youngster in there. And obviously, Goretzka's there as well. But I do think that they do need to get another midfielder to complement the likes of Kimmich and Pavlovich for sure. So yeah, I think Goretzka might move on, but where he goes to, I don't really know. But I think he's decent. I don't think he's amazing. And again, he's someone that's lost his place in the national team as well. So yeah. So Mazira U says, is there any Ukrainian that's won the Ballon d'Or except Shevchenko? No, there hasn't. Shevchenko, if anyone remembers Andrei Shevchenko, man, what a player. AC Milan legend, played in the same team as, again, if you're an AC Milan fan, if you remember Zvonimir Boban, number 10, Serginho, I think was there as well. Yeah, they had some serious players back then, AC Milan. But yeah, I at the moment, can I see any Ukrainian winning Ballon d'Or? I can't. They had a guy called Konopelyanka, who was a very good player, and I think he's probably been the best Ukrainian since Shevchenko. But he didn't really hit the heights that was expected. I think he went to Sevilla as well. But now, obviously, I know obviously got Mudryk, who hasn't been playing as late, obviously for reasons that away from football. But yeah, nice. Yeah, I can't see any Ukrainian winning the Ballon d'Or, if I'm honest. There ain't really no one that's coming through of note that is looking like a top player, man. So Shevchenko, yeah, he was a real legend, man. Yeah, big up Gamer. Gamer says Shevchenko or Van Nistelrooy. Oh, um, Shevchenko or Van Nistelrooy. Um, it's tough, man. Shevchenko or Van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy was an absolute box penalty striker, man. Penalty box striker, sorry, and he was ruthless. Van Nistelrooy. Shevchenko probably had a bit more to his game all round. Um, Shevchenko or Van Nistelrooy. Boy, that's tough. That's a tough one. Uh, I'm probably gonna say. I'll probably say Shevchenko. Yeah, I'll probably say Shevchenko. Um, Again, that's not an easy one, because not saying Van Nistelrooy doesn't feel right, but yeah, it can be either. Shevchenko was good, man, in his prime, man. Obviously, part of the AC Milan team that did they win? Yeah, part of the AC Milan team that won the Champions League at Old Trafford. Funny enough, I think it's when they beat Juventus, if I remember right. But yeah, two great strikers, man, of their era. But I'd probably just say Shevchenko. So Mazira U says, who is better, Anthony 2008 or Mudryk 2010? Ooh, Mudryk 2010. I don't think I see much of Mudryk 2010. I mean, was Anthony at Ajax in 2008? Mudryk two, Mudryk 2010 or Anthony 2008? That's a tough one, because I think Mudryk would have been at Shakhtar Donetsk, and Anthony, I'm guessing, was at Ajax, but I'm not too sure. Um, I I think, to be honest, it's not two players that I really want to be comparing at this stage. Both players haven't really done much, as of late. So it's kind of a hard one. So Sashu says, has a Portuguese man ever taken home the Ballon d'Or? Not sure if you're quite new to football, Sashu, but there's certain Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah. So, but big up, man. So Mazira U says, do you think Chiesa will stay at Liverpool or return to a team from the Serie A? Yeah, for sure, man. Chiesa's going back to his parent club, Juventus. There's no way Liverpool are going to take up that option. I think, if anything, I'm surprised that he didn't play more at Liverpool, because in a sense it's been a waste of a loan signing, and you have to think to yourself, what was the aim of doing that, really? What was the point? But I think he's definitely going to return back to Serie A and at Juventus. And again, it's actually quite confusing as to how Chiesa's career has gone. And again, if you know Serie A football, man, you'll know that his dad was a guy called Enrico Chiesa, who used to play for Fiorentina. And let me tell you now, his dad, Enrico Chiesa, was a player. So if there's any Serie A fans and you know about Enrico Chiesa, he was playing in the era with Giuseppe Signori, and the likes of Roberto Mancini, and bad boys like that. So if you know about Enrico Chiesa, obviously Vialli, Ravanelli, he was in that era there, and he was a top player. And to be honest with you, the way that his son Federico was going, it looked like Federico Chiesa would have been going right to the top. But yeah, I think this Liverpool move has been a stalemate for his career. Obviously at Juventus, I was surprised they actually loaned him out anyway. But yeah, he's definitely going to return back there. And it's going to be interesting to see where he goes from there, because is he going to stay at Juventus? Because at the moment they're struggling big time and they need a whole new revamp of their team. But is he going to stay there for them to help be part of that rebuild? I don't know. Luis Diaz or Rodrigo? Oh, that's easy for me. Diaz is a top player, but Rodrigo for me is one of the best players in the world. You know, and those of you that have been watching my streams from before, then you will know how highly I rate Rodrigo, because I think out of Rodrigo, Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, he's the best of the three, but has the smaller profile. And as I said, Rodrigo's talents deserves to go and play for another top team and be the main guy there. That's how good he is. You know, I think he's in the shadow of both Mbappe and Vinicius Junior. Not because he isn't good enough, but because, again, status of those two players are just a lot more than what his is. You know, and it's unfortunate, but he's a top player, man. And to be honest with you, I'd love to see him at Man United, which ain't gonna happen. But I'd love to see him in the Premier League, to be honest with you, and see how he gets on. You know, I think that'd be ideal. Guys, big up yourself for coming on. As I said, if you haven't smashed that like button, make sure you do. And again, make sure if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe at GavGoesIn on YouTube. And as I said, check out my other content, guys. Obviously, once you smash that like button, it helps the channel to grow. I'm only about 35 short of 1K. So again, if you do enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe and make sure you smash that like button as well. So Mazira U says the AC team when Liverpool won the Champions League in 05 were class. That's when Shevchenko was in his prime. Was that the one where they staged the comeback when Crespo was playing? I think was it I think Kaka was there as well. Was it the one in 05? When Kaka scored, I think not Kaka, I think Crespo scored, and then that's the one where Steven Gerrard staged. Obviously, got the goal where they got back to 3-3 and then took it on penalties. I think it might have been that one. I don't know about Chiesa's father, but I know Buffon played with Chiesa's son plus father. Yeah, Enrique Chiesa, man, what a player he was. You know, as I said, that's probably for the more older fans who watch Serie A. You know, that's when Serie A was at its peak. You know, goal Lazio, if anyone remembers. You know, but his son was sick, man. His dad was sick, to be fair. So Sashu says, why do popular areas like China or India fail to produce talented football players? Is it a racial issue that their physiques are not suitable for football? You know what? Good question, Sashu. Good question. But what I would say, I wouldn't say it's a racial issue. I think, you know, a lot of the Chinese players or players from Asia, you know, if you look at the likes of Son Heung-min, Park Ji-sung before that, you know, you had Seo Ki-hyun as well. There's been loads of Chinese or South Korean players that have played in the Premiership. I think the thing with these guys that stand out is that these guys are pure athletes in terms of, you know, these guys will run all day, you know, and obviously their physiques in terms of, you know, being able to handle the physical demands of the Premier League, you know, it might be a bit of a struggle, but their fitness won't be, but the physicality of it might be, you know. But what I would say is that if you look at someone like Son obviously went from, I'm not sure where he was before, but he was playing in Germany. He was at Hamburg and he was at Bayer Leverkusen where he made his name. And then obviously coming to the Premiership, you know, at first he was trying to acclimatize to it. And he's a prime example. Son is someone that's not overly strong, but in terms of his fitness, you know, he's someone that can run all day. Obviously, he's slowing down a bit more now, but I think in terms of his level of ability and the fitness, you know, he's transitioned to the Premier League easily. So, you know, I wouldn't say it's a racial issue in terms of the physiques and suitability for the football. I think it's just, especially coming to the Premier League, if you're not physically strong, but you're more of an athlete in the sense of, you know, you can get up and down the pitch, you know, unfortunately, you will get a place in the Premier League, you know, because the Premier League, for me, in terms of quality, is at an all-time low, you know, and it's full of a lot of athletes with a few exceptions that are, you know, technicians first, you know, which is a shame, man. So Gamer says, who's the best ever English player of all time? That's tough, man. I don't really know, to be honest. 'Cause I mean, obviously a lot of the players are not a lot before my time, you know, and I haven't really seen them play too tough. Yeah, I can't really tell you. I mean, top of my head, you know, I'm probably gonna say from what I've seen a bit more of, you know, probably looking at John Barnes, you know, Paul Gascoigne. Um, those two for me stand out first and foremost. Yeah, Barnes and Gascoigne, I would say. But again, they weren't. Like, I watched both of them. But if I'm talking about the era now, you know, I don't. There's no one really I look at in the England team and say, yeah, they're special. You know, but I would say, yeah, from of all time, I'll say Barnes and Gascoigne. But again, you know, people will say Jimmy Greaves. You know, they'll say Bobby Moore. But these guys weren't really in my time. But yeah, I'll say Barnes or Gascoigne. I'd say notable standout ones. Yeah, big up, Sham. Uh, oh, so Maziria U, the great questions again, says, who is the best Argentinian striker in history? Do you know what? Yeah, this is tough because I don't know if anyone remembers Gabriel Batistuta. Um, Gabriel Batistuta, man, what a striker he was, you know. And I remember my first ever Serie A video back in the day when he used VCR, and the video was called Goal Lazio, and it was a section on Gabriel Batistuta at Fiorentina. And let me tell you now, this guy was absolutely deadly. And this was in an era as well where all the teams in the league had top players, top strikers, and Batistuta was at Fiorentina, and he was easily, you know, one of the best strikers in that league. And this is when the Serie A was at its peak, you know, when they had the likes of R9 at Inter Milan just doing a madness up there. And yeah, Batistuta's up there for sure for me. You know, you got obviously Kun Aguero, Crespo, Tevez. Even I think if we're talking about pure number nine strikers, because for me, Tevez wasn't a pure number nine striker. The pure number nine strikers, I'm looking at Batistuta, Crespo. Um, you could possibly put Aguero in there, even though he's a bit in the mold of Tevez. But yeah, you can probably say Aguero in there as well. So Aguero, Batistuta, Crespo. Trying to think if there's any others. Is there any others? Obviously, Gonzalo Higuain as well. Put him in there. They're the ones I can think of off the top of my head. For me, it has to be Batistuta, like without doubt. I think if anyone watched Batistuta, he was an absolute problem. You know, he was devastating. You know, strong. You know, he could shoot off both feet. You know, he was an aerial threat as well. He was technical. Yeah, man, he had everything. Like, and again, playing for Fiorentina, not even one of the top teams. Well, Fiorentina was a very good team because anyone remembers Fiorentina. Again, I mentioned Enrico Chiesa. I think he was at Fiorentina as well. But they also had Rui Costa. So Rui Costa and Batistuta, 9 and 10 in that team. Deadly. Absolutely deadly. But yeah, I'd probably say Batistuta, man. If everyone remembers Batty Goal, that was his nickname, man. What a player. Mazira U asks, who's better, Anthony 2008 or Mudryk 2010? They were aged 8 and 9 at the time. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't really understand that because yeah, Anthony wasn't. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Anthony's not even at wasn't even at Ajax then. But maybe he got the years wrong. Maybe he meant 2018 and 2020. I don't know. I think that's what he probably meant. So Rotten Gamer says Kevin Keegan won 2 Ballon d'Ors. I just found out on Google, and Bobby Charlton won one, and Owen won. Yeah, so Owen. So basically, back then it was called the European Award. So Owen won the European Award, and again, people that that don't really know too much about Michael Owen. Michael Owen was devastating when he came through. He was doing what Mbappe done when Mbappe came through. He was Mbappe before Mbappe, basically. And yeah, what a striker he was, man. Owen, when he come through. Wasn't my type of striker, but in terms of how devastating he was at an early age, yeah, he was an absolute problem in the Premier League. Guys, come on, let's get the likes up. There's only 1 like on it so far, man. Let's at least hit 10 likes. Big up yourself anyway for your questions. Oh yeah, Batshuayi was at Roma as well. Yeah, he was at Roma when they had Totti, and if you remember Antonio Cassano as well, Marco Del Vecchio, Vincent Candela, Cafu, Aldair. Yeah, some Hidetoshi Nakata as well, if you remember him. Another Japanese guy for you, Sashu. So yeah, Hidetoshi Nakata went to Roma. So yeah, there were some really top players, man, in that Serie A back then, man. So as I said, yeah, if you watched Serie A back then, man, you would have known. Good question. Who had the best Premier League team of all time? I mean, people might point to the Invincibles, of Arsenal. You know what I'm going to say, though? It might be a bit biased, but I'm going to go for the Man United 2008, I think, Man United. Yeah, well, Sashu said it. Man United 2008. Because that team of Van der Sar, Patrice Evra, Vidic, Ferdinand, and I think it might have been either Raphael or Wes Brown at right back. And then Carrick, Scholes, Anderson, Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez, some part of the squad. Yeah, man, there were some serious players then. I'm going to say them, but then obviously you got the Invincibles, people might say, or you might have the Chelsea team that conceded 15 goals in one season, which is ridiculous. That was Mourinho's team. To go and do that is mad. For a whole 15 goals, madness. To concede 15 goals. I'm not sure if that's Premier. I think it might have been Premier League actually. 15 goals. That is unheard of. So yeah, there was plenty of teams there, but I think being a bit biased, I'll probably say the Man United 2008 team. Yeah, but it could be either the Invincibles or the Chelsea team. Yeah. So Sham says you won the Champions League that year. Yeah, I remember. That's the one where Chelsea, John Terry missed the penalty. Yeah, it was that one. And Ronaldo scored in normal time with the header. I think, yeah, because Drogba got sent off, didn't he? He got sent off. But yeah, I think that Man United 2008 team for sure is the greatest Premier League team you'd have to say of all time. I won't argue if there's others that say that there was the Invincible team or whoever, but yeah, I'm gonna say them for sure. Guys, come on, let's get them like button that like button up. Come on, it's only 1 click of the button. It's only 3 subscribers. Again, you're not forced to be here. If you enjoy the content, then all you have to do is just 1 click of the button and smash that like so it reaches more people. And again, make sure you subscribe to my channel, guys. Big up yourselves. Any other questions before we wrap? So for those of you that have only just come in, obviously there's talk about Garnacho being moved on at the end of the season, which again is music to my ears. Get him and Højlund gone and reinvest in this squad for properly, because Man United cannot afford next season to be behind. And the only way United get back on track is by signing better players, and there's players there that money can be made from, and of course they're not good enough for the team as well. So United need to be acting, and the links to players that seem to be coming in, is good. I think the likes of Liam Delap, they've been linked to. I'm happy with, obviously, Cunha as well. If you watched my stream earlier today, Carlos Baleba, for me, is the ideal transfer target for Man United. I think he should be made number one midfielder for me because of his profile and his age and the fact that he's left-footed as well. So again, if you haven't seen that stream or that content, sorry, make sure you give that a watch. And yeah, make sure you you smash that like button, guys, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Gamer says Owen or Etu. Oh, that's an easy one. Samuel Etu. I think Samuel Etu again was Samuel Etu, man, for me was at Barcelona, because people forget that Samuel Etu was at Real Madrid as well, you know. But at Barcelona, yeah, it's when he was devastating, and that front three of Etu, because if you guys remember, before it was Messi on that right hand side, it was Etu, Ludovic Juli, and Ronaldinho as a front three for Barcelona, and then that's when Henry come in, when Ronaldinho, no. Did Henry come in? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's when Henry came in, and then Messi came in. I think Etu started playing on the right. Messi was playing as a false nine, and then Ronaldinho was on the left. Or did Ronald? Oh, actually, no, I can't remember what happened. I think Ronaldinho was there with Etu and Ludovic Juli, but then I believe, did Henry come in to replace Ronaldinho? I think Henry came in to replace Ronaldinho. I believe. No, but Ronaldinho was there with Messi when Messi was there. As like the passing of the torch. I can't remember. Guys, if you're a Barca fan and you remember how it went, because I know Etu played with both Messi, Ronaldinho, and Henry. And with all three of them, he was devastating. And yeah, so for me, Etu or Owen, yeah, Etu, definitely. I think Etu's underrated for me as well. Very underrated. So Sham says, before you go, I wanted to ask, do you also discuss other sports in your live streams? Yeah, big up Sham, man, I do. So yeah, obviously the sports I do most importantly is football. You know, I've got again, if you're a boxing fan, obviously you guys should know that the fight tomorrow between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. I've done an upload today actually, which is gonna go out tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So if you do like football, if you do like boxing, okay, listen to my my prediction for the fight, how I think it's gonna go, and who I think is gonna win. So guys, that should be coming out tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So yeah, UFC, boxing, wrestling, WWE, AEW, ECW. So yeah, wrestling is what I watch as well. So if you are a wrestling fan, again, check out my other content as I've done the WrestleMania matchups. I done my predictions, and then I done my reactions to the results. So yeah, big up, guys. Yeah, make sure you check that out. Yeah, definitely UFC. I do as well. I do like UFC. I'm more UFC from back in the day, though. I'm not really keeping up to date with UFC at the moment. I need to get back onto it, but I've been watching UFC from before, you know. But big up. Sham says, what's your view on Eubank Jr. missing weight by half an ounce? That's going to cost him between 350 and 500. So yeah, I've seen that today. So he's going to be fined 375 grand for being half an ounce overweight. And to be honest with you, you know, I don't know what to think of that. You know, I think it's probably just a common mistake. You know, it's a costly mistake, should I say? Gamer says he thinks he missed weight on purpose. I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing that I do remember though. I watched Talksport one time with Eubank Senior, and he was on there with Simon Jordan. And there's one thing that I took away from that, which Eubank Senior said. So Eubank Senior was adamant that this fight doesn't go ahead. And in my head, I'm thinking, it's weird he says that, because he must know something that we don't. Because for him to come out and say that on Talksport that this fight doesn't go ahead, you know, and he was more or less saying, you know, he can make sure it won't go ahead. Because obviously he's in fear for his son in terms of how much weight he's had to drop. And I do remember him saying that, you know, that this fight won't go ahead. So whether this has anything to do with it, I don't know. But as I said, I think when he said that, you know, it got me taking notice that him saying that to Simon Jordan, that this fight won't go ahead. I mean, is that going to happen? I don't know, but yeah, he's missed weight by half an ounce. So he's been fined. But do I think this fight goes on? This fight goes ahead? You know, I'm hoping it does. You know, but as I said, what Chris Eubank Senior said on Talksport with Simon Jordan, that it won't go ahead. The fact that he's missed weight, he's done it on purpose. I don't know. You know, because there's a lot of talk going around at the moment. But I think it does make for a great fight tomorrow. And as I said, make sure you check my my fight prediction tomorrow, which goes live at 10 o'clock tomorrow. And give me your views, what you think. But big up yourselves. Yeah, big up Sham. So Gamer says a smart move by him. I don't know. Well, Gamer, why do you think it's a smart move? Let us know, bro. Why do you think it's a smart move? So Sham said, I don't think he did it on purpose. If he missed it by a few pounds, then that's on purpose. But to miss it by half an ounce, that's mad. Yeah, I agree. I agree, man. I just think it was just a normal mistake. I don't think he's done it on purpose. Because what would he have to gain by doing it on purpose? I just think it was just a bit of a mistake, you know. But it's a costly mistake, put it that way. But as I said, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting fight tomorrow. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm looking forward to it. As I said, it's the biggest British boxing fight in history, I would say. Yeah, so all eyes will be on that tomorrow. You know, and I think whoever loses this fight, you know, it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be hard for that person to take, if I'm honest. So Gamer says someone said him being heavier is better for him, but maybe not. Simone told me people talk rumors. So someone said him being heavier. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, this Eubank being heavier than Conor Ben, people think that's going to be the defining factor in the fight. I don't necessarily think that. You know, I think, yeah, he is a heavier fighter, but I think we need to respect Eubank Jr.'s qualities that he has in the ring. You know, his ring IQ, you know, his experience as well. I think these things will play a factor, you know. But yeah, so Gamer says I'll be watching. Who you backing? So Gamer, make sure you watch my my pre-record that I done today, which will be going out tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So I don't want to spoil it, man. So yeah, give that a watch and you'll see who I'm going for. But what I would say, it's going to be a very interesting fight, man. And I'm definitely going to be there for it, man. I'm definitely going to watch. And yeah, we'll definitely have to do a reaction to it as well. And just break down the fight and think and see what we... yeah, who comes out victorious, man. That's all I can say. But yeah, guys, big up yourself for coming on each and every time. Big up Reluctant Gamer, bro. Big up each and every time. Big up Sham 100% for coming on again. Big up, bro. Big up to Sashu. Big up to I think there was someone else as well. Oh yeah, Miseria you as well. Yeah, guys, big up each and every time. As I said, make sure you smash the like button, guys. There's only 3 likes on there at the moment. Okay, at least smash the like on the way out if you enjoy the stream. And check out my other content. And again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do, guys. There's a lot of content on there. And as I say, on my road to 1K, I'm only, what, 30, I think 35 short. So, yeah, big up everyone for coming on again. And if you haven't subscribed, help me reach that 1K. And on to bigger and better things, guys. But yeah, big up yourselves each and every time. I'm going to be back. What's tomorrow? When am I back? So, again, I'm putting it out tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I'll probably be back possibly Saturday. I'm not sure what time. If not Saturday, then obviously it might be Sunday morning. I might be back. Obviously, Man United playing Bournemouth, and I want to do a little match preview for that one. So yeah, I'm not sure yet, but I'll have to let you know. Sulet Liv says, "Hey Gav, that Nathan Lemus guy is a big hater, man. I was just wondering how you deal with those type of comments, especially those racist comments. Big ups, man. You have a strong personality." Yeah, big ups Sulet Lives, man. I was thinking who's Nathan Lemus, but that name did ring a bell. I'll be honest with you, man. Like all the negative comments that come in, like it don't really rattle me, to be honest with you, because and a day, the way that I look at it, you're coming on here to watch me, not the other way around. I'm here for positive conversations, uncomfortable conversations, whether it's football, whether it's wrestling, whether it's boxing, whether it's UFC, as long as it's respectful, then, comments are allowed. Even if we don't agree on the same opinions, it's about debate, and that's what I love. I love talking about football and other sports. And if it's a case where we don't agree, then that's what life's about. But as long as it's respectful, then that's all that matters. People coming in there with racist comments and negative comments, I've seen it all before, and it says more about them than it does about me and about the stream, really. So and again, these guys, have to look at themselves. Maybe their life ain't going too well, and the best thing that they can vent out is on other people doing something that they wish they could do. That's how I look at it, man. But yeah, big up yourself for coming on, man. In this world, man, you got to have a strong personality for sure, man. And again, when you put yourself on camera, if you can't handle criticism, or you can't handle that you might get people coming in there talking shit, then obviously it's not for you. So but yeah, what I would say, man, just big up yourselves each and every time for coming on. And as I said, if you do like my content, it's free to hit that like button, and again, it's free to subscribe, and keep putting yourselves in the live chat. Keep coming on, and again, like, it's about dialogue, guys. But big up yourselves anyway, and yeah, big up everyone for your questions. And guys, I'm gonna catch you possibly Sunday, but yeah, keep an eye out for 10 o'clock tomorrow for my take on the massive fight tomorrow between Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. And yeah, big up gamer, man, each and every time. And yeah, as I said, I should be back Sunday, not sure what time, but I will put if your notifications are on, I will put on I will schedule it before I come live anyway, just so you guys are aware when I'm going. So yeah, keep yourselves tuned in, guys. But big up everyone, and I'll catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.